Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lewis.
Welcome to the Rangers Journal.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Rangers Journal post-match reaction from Rangers v Celtic in the Scottish Cup quarter-final. 0-0 over 120 minutes, followed by what I would suggest was some pretty poor penalties, Doug. How you feeling after that one, mate?
Yeah, obviously very disappointed. We started the match as we did the previous weekend, and so it felt like, okay, yeah, let's go into this. But I thought the game kind of just became more even as time went on. Although overall, I think we were still the dominant team. We just don't have, we still lack that cutting edge. We don't have enough quality across the team. And yeah, unfortunately for us, Celtic have that champion's ability to find a way, and ultimately that's what they did today. They just they kept themselves in the game. They found a way, and their penalties were so much better than ours. Not one of our penalties were any good. Even the ones we scored, were trickling in. So yeah, all in all, just a poor show, unfortunately.
It is, mate. It is. Let's just get the kind of usual bits out of the way. So obviously the pod is brought to you by the Bluebells Bar in Lanzarote. Good Rangers pub, so if you are out there, please do pay them a visit. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do like and subscribe and turn your notifications on to be told when the shows are coming. The team will delve into it fully, or more fully, tomorrow. We're here for a reaction. I think it's fair to say we're both a bit scunnered after that. Doug, I guess we'll start with the team sheet. What was your kind of thoughts when you saw the team sheet? Were you surprised maybe that Chucky didn't start?
No, I think it was roughly what I expected. I suppose maybe I did expect it to be largely the same. I was probably more surprised actually that he actually did take out Suter. That's probably the bigger surprise for me, because he seems to, in general, like Suter, but obviously he has had a few mistakes in him lately. So and Diamandi coming in, not a huge surprise. He does tend to play well in these types of games. So when it comes to sort of him or Chucky, I think they're kind of similar levels, or are at the moment anyway. So these should be changes that we're able to make. So I wouldn't have said surprised about that one particularly, but yeah, more so maybe the sort of one. I expected the team to be largely the same in any way.
And I think as the game kind of started, we kind of looked, we were dominant without really having that cutting edge, I would suggest. I think it's probably fair to say that Skov Olsen, Nadiri, Chimiti all probably had quite bad games by what we would expect from them.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, we started off, we started off similar to the last game, where we were on the front foot, we were aggressive. The left side of our team in particular, with Romans and Moore and Nadiri, were playing really, really well. We were getting so many chances down that left-hand side, but we didn't quite seem to have the same cutting edge. I don't think we made quite as many chances, or certainly not as many clear-cut chances anyway. And obviously, last weekend, Chimiti had that little just golden edge to him, scoring two beautiful goals, but it just didn't come in that scenario. And like I say, that's when you needed your other players to be stepping up. We needed someone to have that cutting edge today, and there just wasn't anyone that was really there. I think the closest person was Moore, who, just a spoiler alert for me, was our man of the match by a country mile. He was constantly driving, constantly creating things. He was confident, he was aggressive, everything I'd want to see. But apart from him, as I say, there wasn't a huge amount of quality in a lot of what we did. And I mean, for me, I thought we saw that once in extra time when Tavernier came on. you immediately saw a difference in the quality of balls coming in. We need more players who have that level of technical ability. And as I say, I still think at the moment we're just that little bit short.
I think an out-and-out goal scorer was pretty obviously a need going into that window. Ryan Naderi has shown some good moments. I would argue that he possibly isn't the player that we needed, though. I don't think he's that out-and-out goal scorer that we needed for this kind of game. Would you say that's fair, Doug, or do you disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a slight difficulty at the moment because there seems to be a pattern emerging where whose name just escaped me. Trimiti quite clearly plays better, seemingly, when he's got a second striker beside him. He's got someone like right beside him, as opposed to like a 10 or someone who's a little bit further away from him. So there does seem to be a pattern emerging where when we play the two up top, we get more out of Trimiti. He's able to just be up front. He hustles because he's good at hustling. And again, Trimiti had a good game today. Nadiri had a good game. I think the problem is we had a lot of players that had good games, but not enough that had great games. Nadiri, though, he's obviously dropping off a lot of the time. He's getting involved in a lot of the build-up play. As I say, again, early doors, he was involved in the attacks down the left-hand side, and he does well at that, and he seems to be doing well at that. But when he did have a couple of decent chances himself, and he just didn't quite, the ball either didn't fall for him or he couldn't quite control it. So I think he's doing well in terms of what he's been asked to do in terms of the system. But like you say, one of the things we needed was someone who is a guaranteed goal scorer week in, week out, because that's what's costing us. Because again, you look at this game, we defended fine throughout the match. We had a couple of wobbles now and then, but on the whole, our defense was pretty solid. It's the other end of the pitch that we have the problem, because we don't score enough goals. So if it's a game like a Motherwell where we get an early goal, but then we fail to add to that goal, and even with them going down to 10, if you've only won ahead, teams can get back in and get that last minute equaliser, and that's where we're dropping all our points. We've got, I think, the second highest number of draws in the league, with 12. So it's our inability to put teams away that's causing us problems. As much as people like to complain about the defence, our defence, when you compare it to other defences, is perfectly fine. It's that inability and that cutting edge. And like you said, if we had a cutting edge goal scorer, like Hearts have got with Shankland, like Motherwell have got with Masawise, to a degree, like Celtic have had Ingrid, who's been scoring for them. All of the teams around us have got players that are scoring regular goals week to week, whereas we've got a striker who, he can turn up in some of the big games, and when he does turn up, he's amazing, but he doesn't do anything or enough in between those games, and that's where we've struggled. And we've relied obviously on Tavernier to get us regular goals in the past. He's not doing that now because he's not playing as often, and he's not able to be the attacking force he used to be. And we're still not getting enough from, like you said, Gassama, Skov Olsen, who again I thought was relatively anonymous today. Mikey Moore, while he's very creative, he's only got a handful of time. We need more players in our teams that score regular goals if we're going to turn all of these draws into wins, and that's the only way we're going to win things.
Good, mate. I think we've kind of danced around this issue long enough. It's popping into the comments, and I hate to do it to you because I know you kind of usually defend him. James Tavernier's penalty kick today, it's pretty awful. Now, I guess it's fair to say he's taken a lot of penalties and he scored a lot of them, so you can't take that away from him. But pressure fixture like that, you're looking for your captain to step up, set the tone. I think he did set the tone, but maybe not in the way that we wanted. What did you make of that? Did you think it was just the pressure of the moment, just a bad day at the office? Where do you fall on that, Doug?
He just gets under the ball. At the end of the day, that happens. It's what we needed. We needed him to, like you said, ideally set the tone. We won I was quite happy when I was watching that, and we got the time cost. We got the the penalties taken at our side, and then we got to choose to take them first. And I was just like, yeah, that's great. But I mean, people can blame Tav if they want, and that's fine. But there was 120 minutes to win the game prior to that. It's still the issue. At the end of the day, you know, I made the point in one of our group chats that I was saying that I think these two matches, for me anyway, have signalled the end of Tavernier's Rangers career, because if Roll didn't bring him on in the last game, we only made 2 substitutions in the last match, so he didn't see a way for Tavernier to make a difference in that game. And then he's not brought him on until extra time in this match, probably with one eye on penalties. So to me, that sells me that Roll doesn't think Tavernier's a game changer, or certainly not for big games like this. Otherwise, he comes on earlier, and so to me, that signals he's not going to get a new contract, and so this will be his last year, which obviously for myself was disappointing. But I mean, you know, I thought Tavernier was good when he came on, and like I said a minute ago, immediately I thought we saw a difference in the quality. Although he's got various aspects of his game that are failing, his technical ability is still there. And you know, I made the joke when we thought we'd scored it. You know, Tav comes on, it takes him less than 10 minutes to get us the ball in the net. But I did think that was making a difference. But obviously, there wasn't enough time for that to happen. And obviously, maybe he doesn't do as well defensively, because Sterling was very good before Tav came on. So I'm not suggesting that necessarily that was the wrong decision. Sterling was excellent. But I do think that, as I said before, we need more players of Tav's technical quality, because those are the players that make the difference. And as I say, I think that's, you know, we've seen that from Tav over the years. Those years are behind him now. And so we need to bring in new players of that quality, and that will be what will make the difference.
I think Romans on the left is probably the benchmark. I think it's fair to say, you know, both Tav and Sterling, as much as they have strengths in their game. I mean, you called out Sterling's defensive side of the game there. Quality delivery and getting up the wings is really not what it should be. Tav's obviously the opposite. You almost need someone like a Romans that can actually do both and get them in.
Yep.
I think that's your answer there. Doug, looking at the wider aspect then, I think we all knew coming into this that it was a tough run of fixtures, but we also knew that it was going to be a crucial run of fixtures. We've obviously lost, so we're out of the cup now. We dropped 2 points, as far as I'm concerned, last weekend. What does that mean for our season now, Doug? Do you think it's finished? Do you think the league's still there to fight for? Or are we now into the let's get a rebuild going for next season territory?
I mean, it's definitely still there to be fought for. I don't think we're favourites in any shape or form. And if I'm entirely honest, I don't see us winning the league, because I do think we'll have more draws in us, because those are our problems. We don't lose very often. I think was it only twice I think we've lost? Is it two or three times at the very most? Losing isn't our problem, but you know, we draw constantly, and that will be we've only lost 2 matches all season. So you know, it hopefully shouldn't take much to turn the corner, make a difference, turn some of those draws into wins. But I think that'll be our problem this season, because particularly this season of all seasons, where the top 6 to a team can take points off of each other. Even, you know, Falkirk in 6th place, you know, they've taken points off of a couple of the top 6 teams, including us. So I do think that there will be some twists to come. You know, Motherwell, shock loss for them the other day against Dundee. So, you know, it just shows that, you know, things will still happen. You know, Celtic are still not a great team. They weren't great today. They were decent. But you know, they'll have games where I think they'll still struggle. We'll have games where we'll still struggle. So it'll, funnily enough, I think it will come down to who plays the best against Hibs, Motherwell, and Falkirk. Because you could get a couple of draws in amongst us, Celtic and Hearts. So whoever does the best out of those other ones will probably be the team that comes out ultimately in top. And obviously Hearts have got a couple of points for them. So for me right now, if I'm a Hearts fan, I would be feeling good. We've got the points. They've got the points. They've got the the momentum going for them right now. And unfortunately, these two games were huge games for us. If we'd won these two games, that'd have given us a huge push of momentum. But obviously, it now does the complete opposite, and Roll now have to pick the team up to make sure that they stay focused and try and still get points on the table, because we still want to finish as high as we can, even if I don't think that's going to be first.
Enough. And I think just the last thing I want to touch on, mate, Danny Rule himself, I think, earned an awful lot of plaudits for getting us back into a title race. Probably rightly so, given what he had to work with. However, he has attracted some criticism, especially the last couple of games. Where do you sit on that? I mean, the comment I fired up was obviously it's better than Russell Martin shit show. Well, it's not really the bar we want to be aiming for, is it? But do you think Danny Rule, is this a case of give him a pre-season, time to do some conditioning with the players so that they're able to kind of perform that kind of intensity that he looks for? Or do you think that actually Danny's got a bit to answer for now and is a bit of a shootly peg?
Well, obviously, there's going to be a little bit of that in there. I mean, I already saw earlier on when we first came on, someone saying roll out. I'll be honest. I think anyone suggesting Danny Rule should be sacked that's ludicrous. He's not even 5 full months into his role. Danny Rule is basically where all of our previous managers in the last couple of years have gotten to, where they've had a good start and then they've hit that point where we are turning around going, this team doesn't have the mentality, this team doesn't have the quality. So there's two aspects to that. So the first is that this is still not entirely Danny Rule's team. This is Russell Martin's team for the most part. He's only made 3 signings and a loan signing. So there's that aspect to account for as well. We've got quite a few loan players in that team as well, that most of which are probably not going to be here next season as well. So we will have a new team next season. And not only that, you're seeing he's made the decision to keep Suter. As I say, I think that we'll almost certainly be seeing the end of James Tavernier. That's a huge change for the club. He's been a big player for us for the last decade. He's the club captain, so that will facilitate a change in leadership at the sort of that top end there. Something that a lot of people have been asking for 3-4 years. So there's big changes to occur. And as I say, Danny Rule's at that point now where I think because of the way it panned out with Clement, with Beale, with Gio, I think a lot of people are taking that and going, "Oh, Danny Rule it's the same thing is happening. Let's get rid of him straight away." But that's not fair to Danny Rule. He should get the chance to, now he's come up against these same issues of mentality, of quality, of not being able to get over the line. He now gets his turn to try and tackle those core issues and make a difference. One of two things will happen. Either he will go the same way and he'll start next season. He won't be good enough, and so we'll sack him and the whole thing will start again. Or he's the one to break the duck. So, but I feel he has to get the opportunity at least to do that, because otherwise we're going from sacking managers every year and a half to sacking managers every 6 months. And at the end of the day, I think you have to give your manager at least that summer window in pre-season to set up, because at that point you can then say, right, he's got a team that he should be happy with. He's built his pre-season. This is now 100% on him. Whereas now there are definite things that Danny Rule has to answer for. Occasionally we've questioned his choices of team. Occasionally we've questioned his substitutes. There's obviously can he motivate the team and get them into the right mentality to win. So those are questions that are over Danny Rule right now. So those are all valid questions. But I still think ultimately he should get that chance to set up properly himself, not coming in mid-season, or not even mid-season, as he did. And we go from there. And as I say, in another 10 months' time, the people right now going, oh, Danny Rose is exactly the same as the rest, we should sack him now, might get proved right. But I still don't think it's fair for us to sack Danny Rose so early because of what's happened before.
I think the reality is, we as fans will absolutely talk about it. We will question it because we've been scarred by these things before. I think he's almost certain to get that pre-season that you suggest for. I do think the way this season's panned out, from kind of getting those hopes up to then pretty much dashing them now, I imagine that he is going to start under a bit of pressure with the fans that maybe could have been avoided if he had managed to pick up a trophy this season, which personally I now think is beyond us. Well, we're going to leave it there, folks. We're not going to drag this one out. I need to go and cry, so does Doug. What we will be doing, Phil, we'll be back tomorrow with full pod, and we will dig into this in a lot more detail. For now, thanks for listening, and every night's a Rangers Journal night.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.